I think it's worth knowing these numbers so you can have a genuine conversation with sellers about this. The one thing I would just stay away from is affirming that you'll be able to sell for a higher price because you hire me. I don't know if that's true. Now, when you get into higher price points, maybe it is true, because the number one thing that they did say that for sale by owners struggled with is pricing their home correctly, because it is hard to do if you don't have access to all of the data, which, by the way, is likely going to change now that the NAR says that you don't need to be a NAR member to join an MLS.
Welcome back to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. I've got my friend Matt Bonelli with me, as always. We are excited that you are with us. If you haven't yet gone and done your business plan, go to Life at 10 Tenths. We have it all there. You can download it. You do need to purchase it. It is a purchase thing. It's not just to come and grab it for free. But it is worth it, and we're getting so much great feedback, and we're now starting off, Matt, our quarterly sessions that for people that have completed business plans, our number one mission is to say, don't just have a business plan, actually follow it, and we're helping people do that as we go through 2026. So come get a business plan, come join us, be as effective as you possibly can with this new year, because business is here, people need our help. And Matt, the profile of home buyers and sellers just recently came out. And you were quick on it. You grabbed the data. You've been researching a little bit, and for sale by owner information got your attention. And I'm excited to chat with you about this because I think it is, well, we just put way too much energy around this.
You know, it got my attention because, and I did this when I was selling. And so I'm not going to say like, oh, I'm holier than thou on this, but like, everybody focuses on the median sold price of a for sale by owner versus the median sold price of an agent assisted home, right? And they're like, well, you know, you'll get more money if you list with an agent. And I'm like, in the back of my head, I've always like, is that really true? And this data doesn't necessarily say whether it's true or not, but there are some things in the data that indicate to me, it's like, it just so happens that the people who sell homes on their own are typically lower priced than the people who hire agents to sell their home. It's not that the agent is all of a sudden making up the difference here. I'm looking at the numbers. It's all FSBOs, median sales price, $360,000, agent assisted, $425,000. So like, is an agent really worth that $65,000? Like, I think agents are outrageously worth it. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to this FSBO data and agents using it to try to gain leverage with potential sellers, like, I don't think it's worth it. It's not worth your time, because if you're already talking to a seller anyway, like, they're probably not going to sell it on their own. And if they are, they might have good reason, as we'll find out in this data, as to what happens for these FSBOs that actually sell.
But Matt, this is going to sting a little bit, because the reason, I hate even saying this, the reason I think that a lot of realtors get stuck on this is they maybe don't, this is going to hurt. They maybe don't even understand their own value, that they think that somebody would actually go and want to for sale by owner that easy. That here I am having to prove to them why having a realtor is better than going for sale by owner. The general consumer, by the way, is either going to go for sale by owner. It's like it's an option in there, or it's not at all. You know, one of my favorite questions when sitting down, and again, I'm not a licensed agent anymore. I used to be. But one of my favorite questions was, are you thinking about going for a sub-owner? Because if they said no, it's off the table. Like,
we don't need to talk about that data anymore. Like,
they're not all of a sudden they're going, well, that's fascinating that Garrett brought that up, and maybe we should. Wait, but what if we did? You know, we could sell this thing on our own. They're not going to do it. It's not, and I know how to sell a home for sale by owner. I've done it. And by the way, I did it because it was the most convenient thing in the world. I never thought about commissions. I never thought about how much, maybe we could sell it more if we put it on the open market. It was one of those, my friend said, I want to buy your house. Here's what I'm willing to buy it for. And I said, I think that sounds fabulous. And we went down the next day and we did the paperwork. And I was a for sale by owner. Like, I am documented as that in the stats back in 2003. So I think it's an interesting piece that we get stuck in, but we're always so afraid to bring it up. And we always think that that's like an option for a lot of people, that they could just do this themselves. So I got to prove to them why they wouldn't want to do that. You are worth it. I'm just going to say that right there. People understand that. The consumers understand that you take away friction, stuff they don't do every single day. They don't want to market their home. They don't want to talk to strangers. They don't want to have to go through all this process, but they know they got a place they got to go to, and they know they want to get there, and they just want it to be as seamless as possible in a very stressful situation. They don't have a quick answer. If they did, they may not use you, but they don't. That's why they're talking to you.
And Garrett, this was the stat that just keyed me into, like, it doesn't, like, this is why it's not a conversation worth having unless you are actually having the conversation and they bring it to you.
Yes.
So on these sales prices, there's a data point here that they say the sales price as a percentage of asking price. And by this, they mean the last asking price, because then they talk about number of times the asking price was reduced, which is interesting as well. But across the board, sales price as a percentage of asking price this past year for FSBOs or agent-assisted homes, 100%. Everybody got what they wanted. Everybody got what they wanted, except for the people who went FSBO, then hired an agent. They were lagging a little behind at 99%. They lost 1% of what they wanted on that list price, but they got the people in the door, so they were able to negotiate down, which is, that to me, I was like, oh, well, then clearly those homes are just worth less than the homes that agents typically are working on. And I would even argue that probably, now there's a median selling price, which is a better metric than average, but I would probably argue there's probably some lower priced homes that are included in here that maybe agents didn't want to touch. Which is unfortunate, and kind of like, I'm not saying that's a thing that we should do, but I bet that's also calculated in there as well. But when you look at, if they're getting 100% of their asking price, why do they need an agent?
Well, interesting. If you look at last year in the scenarios that I saw play out, Matt, is I saw a lot of people going, my listings are sitting, and they would reduce, and they would reduce, and they would reduce. And then all of a sudden they get blasted with a whole bunch of buyers that would all of a sudden come in going like, we'll pay that. Like, we'll do it. Like, we're in. And a lot of those were full price offers. There were certain situations that if it had been on long enough and it had acquired enough days on market, that we would see a price reduction, and then we would see these crazy lowball offers come in. But I also found out what I saw was a lot of those deals weren't real. They never made it to the actual closing table. It either insulted the seller to the point that they're like, take off, and they blew everything up, or they got under contract and the buyers bounced out for another reason. They actually weren't able to follow through, even though they had this crazy lowball offer that these people maybe had accepted. I think it's an interesting stat that you say 100%, because it actually correlates with, I feel like, most of the transactions that I saw. 100% is pretty high. I mean, that's 100%.
Yeah, I mean, like they got it all. Now people are like, oh, but maybe they didn't know what to ask for the property and stuff. Okay, fair enough. Let's take a look at this stat here. Median number of weeks on market. Okay, and then we'll get into like why this is this way. FSBOs are on the market less time than agent-assisted homes. One week versus 3 weeks.
You know what?
That's
you know what?
funny.
They're better at it than us.
Yeah, people say, well, that includes all the ones where like they knew the person and they were just never on the market. Okay, let's take that out. Let's look at the FSBOs where the seller did not know the buyer, which those homes sold for a higher price, $372 versus $360, than the FSBOs that sold to someone they know. They were on the market for a median amount of time of 2 weeks, whereas the agent-assisted homes are on the market for 3 weeks. Now, if you do have somebody who's considering FSBO, but also is considering an agent, they were in last place. The ones that went FSBO, then hired an agent, they were on the market for 4 whole weeks as a median, right? So why are FSBOs performing so well, Garrett? Well, I mean, you just said it. Your neighbor came up and was like, I want to buy your house. That is the number one reason. They already know the person they're selling to. Overwhelming majority of FSBOs are sold to someone they know.
Yep.
And that tells you all you need to know. What's interesting though, is we still do find people, and this is typically at higher priced homes, where they'll know someone, they'll still call in their agent, right? Which then highlights the value of having relationships, which again takes away the need to then go hunt FSBOs so much.
Yeah. Well, and you know, going back to my example, like I was at 0 days on market. I mean, my wife and I had the conversation that we're thinking about selling our home. And I happened to have one of my friends in our house that they're like, we've been wanting to buy a home in your neighborhood. We love your house. We're jealous of your home. We wish we could find one like this. And I said, what is your price point? And they threw out their price and I'm like, sold, like done, like we're done. And they were like, you're willing to sell your home? That's how a for sale by owner can work. And it's funny, it's the only one I've ever done that way. Every other house I've sold since then, I've had an agent involved. I know the value of an agent. And it really is an act of convenience. And I think when hiring an agent, for most of us, we're willing to pay the money to have the professional involved. Matt, I brought you up as an example before we actually started this. I was like, I find you as somebody who understands the ease of streamlining life and going like, look, I don't need to deal with that. That's not the best use of my time, my money. I'm going to take this route over here because, again, I have other things I want to be going and doing. And we were talking about selling cars. This came up a while back. And every car I've ever had, I sell myself. I don't trade in vehicles. I have no problem putting them down there in the parking lot, putting the sign on them, putting them on Craigslist, and going down there and doing test drives with people. I don't have a problem with it at all. You called me up because you're like, I think I'm going to sell, and I forget what car it was. I think I'm going to sell this car. And I said, great. In my mind, I'm thinking you're going to do all your advertising and all your stuff and all your things. And you called me like, I think it was like later that day or the next day. And you're like, sold, done. We're done with that car. Moving on to this one. And I'm like, how in the world did you do that fast? You're like, oh, the dealer just gave me, and my heart almost broke. I was like, oh my gosh, like I might have a problem. But for you, that you understood, yes, you are getting a wholesale value on that car. But that fee, that middle ground in there from what you could have obtained as profit to your time and not having to worry about it and not having to deal with somebody who's going to call you back in a week and going, hey, by the way, the transmission gave out on this thing right when we drove it away from you and I don't feel good about this sale. And now all of a sudden we have a problem on our hands. It's just done. You never have to think about it ever again. You have a clear mind. You get to go move along with your days. There's a lot of people in our world that they will hire an expert, go to a professional, have it done like that because it just cleans it all up. It makes it easy. And this is where most of our people are in this world. And this goes back to, Matt, where we started this episode. Of sometimes we make such a big deal about, putting all this on the table, talking about for sale owners, the value of a real estate agent, over going and doing this. And I think more often than not, we need to focus on other things. This is not that big of a thing for most people. Most people aren't going to do this. It is not the easiest thing to do unless it just happens to fall in your lap.
Yeah. And, that's why I think it's worth knowing these numbers so you can have a genuine conversation with sellers about this. The one thing I would just stay away from is affirming that you'll be able to sell for a higher price because you hire me. I don't know if that's true. Now, when you get into higher price points, maybe it is true, because the number one thing that they did say that for sale by owners struggled with is pricing their home correctly, because it is hard to do if you don't have access to all of the data, which, by the way, is likely going to change now that the NAR says that you don't need to be a NAR member to join an MLS. You still have to pay the fees to join the MLS and have all that data. But let's be honest, for sale by owners just don't have the data that a real estate agent does, which is why you all are much better at pricing, which is much more important when we're looking at absolute dollar values, when we get into a 5 or 10% delta or even less on $500, $600 million homes. Sometimes when you're looking at a home that's 300,000, they'll be like, well, the difference of $3,000 or not, $6,000, 10 grand. It's a lot of money, but if it allows me to just get this process done, it's worth it to me, because I'd have to take off, a week worth of work, which is unpaid leave and all of that stuff. And so sometimes it just does work better for people that way. But when you look at it, the overwhelming majority of them are selling to people they know. It was like 65 to 70%, Garrett, are selling to people that they know.
Myself as a consumer, if you were to come to me and sit down and say, look, the benefit of using me is I'm going to be able to get you more for your home. I hate to say it. I'm going to say, show me the data that backs that up. And unfortunately, it is so arbitrary. We don't have the exact numbers to say, look, you're going to sell for more. Matt, the numbers you said, which was like a $60,000 spread there. There's so many things that go into what data are we actually comparing? What is actually happening here? Are there just more people that sell for a sub owner in lower price points than there are in higher price points? Is that why the numbers are skewed? Like, there are so many variables into this. So I think that if I could encourage anybody, it's to take a step away from I can get you more to the convenience that you're going to be able to offer for the services that you provide. That's going to make, again, a very, very, very stressful, very complicated process be as smooth as it possibly can for them so that they can spend time focusing on their family, their loved ones, their job, their world. They can focus on where they want to move to in the new area that they're moving to and what that's going to look like, and not have to get caught up in all the other stuff. And when there's things that come up that are difficult or stress, if you can step in and take that off their plate. I was talking with somebody yesterday about this, Matt, of like, this is actually where the referral-based business is built out of. It's actually from the moment you start working to the closing table. This is what your whole job is all about. It is the convenience of working with you through that time. And that's the stuff they're going to go tell their friends about. They're not going to go, my realtor got me an extra $20,000 that I wouldn't have gotten before. That's not really where they're going. What they're going with is they brought me a buyer, they made it smooth, they took care of us, they kept me educated and informed through this thing. And at the end of it, it was an awesome transaction. And I would use that realtor again, and I would tell all my friends about it. Understand what your value is and understand what your job is. And if you're getting stuck on this, I can get you more money if you use a realtor, if you go with a realtor, you better be able to back it up. You better be able to show it.
It's 18% more money. It's massive. I mean, that's like, 3 of my commissions, or not even my commissions, 3 of like all of our commissions. You're making so much more money. And it's like, I don't think the data really supports that. And like you said it, Garrett, you got to solve for the truth.
That's 3 of my commissions. That's the
And you only have to pay me once. But for sale by owners, I mean, they're essentially paying me 3 times. I mean, might as well just hire me, pay me once, and that way we all win, right? Like, come on, share the wealth.
We should raise my commission up. There's extra money on the table now.
So greedy. But like, it highlights the point. Like, you got to solve for pain, right? And your value could be in the net to the seller. And this is where it gets into truly understanding what net proceeds look like, because a lot of the agents that I see focusing on these stats only focus on list price, right? They're not necessarily running net sheets, because if you're a veteran agent, like, you're probably not even using these numbers unless you're amazing at picking up for sale by owners, which if you are, kudos to you, because the ones that were for sale by owner that then sold with an agent did have a median higher price, which is fascinating. The other interesting stat, I just want to highlight this too. Yeah. Agent listed homes had more price reductions than for sale by owners as well. Now, granted, this is on sold properties, so we probably don't have the data. Like, what happened to the for sale by owners that never sold? Okay, good question, right? They probably weren't real sellers to begin with, which is why they went that route to, quote, test the waters. Yeah. And so you also have to be very aware of, am I actually talking to a real seller here, or am I just trying to list a property? And that factors into how this is approached. But one tool in the toolkit here, Garrett, but I would say I'm going to debunk that when you're looking at the same type of properties, or I would say I'm going to debunk the myth that the data is true in that agents help people sell for more across the board. I think it is a socioeconomic condition that exists here in terms of where people are hiring agents and how they're hiring agents, because also the overwhelming majority of FSBOs are in rural areas, which it's hard to find agents out in the middle of nowhere to sell a house, sell a farmland. It can be tough. And for those of you who work in cities and stuff, you don't see many for sale by owners because they typically hire agents.
Well, and for me, I always enjoyed for sale by owners. I could appreciate where they were coming from if they were the people that were like, we think you might want to try that first. And yeah, I mean, you could try to sway them into like, I'm going to show you all the reasons why this is a bad idea. And the best thing you can do is be like, I think you should give it a shot. Like it doesn't really hurt them all that much. They get a chance to go and experiment, see what it is. They get a chance to have a showing come through during the middle of the day when they got to leave work and they're going to try to figure out how they're going to show this property. And that's inconvenient. And what do we do with all these moving parts? They get a chance to experience it. And the best thing you can do, instead of going, oh, you're dead to me because you're going to go try to go for sale by owner, help them. Just you can even have a light conversation with them and just be like, how's it going? What are you guys experiencing? What are you seeing? You know, just get in to be somebody who cares about them. And the moment they go, you know what? We got a chance to try it. We're cool. We need your help. I would much rather be that person for them that I get brought back in. You are, again, more referable long-term, that you are an agent that instead of getting bent and bounced out and left, that was actually stood by their side and was able to be there for them. And for sale by owners are great business also. So if you do find for sale by owners out there, I would totally encourage you, be that person that instead of like tries to talk them out of a being for sale by owner while they're already on, embrace them. How's it going? What are you seeing? What kind of showings are you getting? Like, just be a good person to them, because there's very high chance that they are at some point are going to turn to you and say, hey, we could actually probably use your help. We actually really need to sell now. Before we were just kind of testing the waters. It's fun. Throw a sign in the front yard, throw it up on Craigslist, whatever that might be. But now we actually need to do something. Like, we actually need to go. You want to be that person for them. So again, there's great business here. But yeah, in that moment of trying to close them on why they don't want to do that and why you're the right, just be careful. You can blow up a lot of good opportunity.
And Garrett, I'll add, if you help out a for sale by owner by providing value, even just through conversation, you have somebody who is more likely to refer you other people, because people will ask that person, how did it go selling yourself? It's like, well, you know, it was a bit hard, but like I enjoyed the experience, you know, and this agent like was really nice. You know, what do you think? And they're like, well, we were kind of curious what your experience was because we don't really have the time to do it ourselves and wanted to get feedback from you. And that might turn into a referral for you. And so, you know, don't discount people. I'll also highlight this, like, how many licensed real estate agents are selling their homes themselves as well? I mean, come on.
All it takes is somebody saying, you know, we didn't get a chance to use them. We obviously sold successfully for sale by owner. But if I was to use somebody, I would use Matt Bonelli. Like that, yeah. That is all you need when it comes to marketing out there that is circling around the local community. If I had to use an agent, I would use Matt Bonelli. If that's what people are saying out there, you're doing all the right stuff. Yeah. Of course, we actually need them to use you, but we can get back to that.
Hey guys, here's the thing. 90+% of people out there hire an agent to help them sell their home. So it's not like this is a massive marketplace that you need to go and play in. I do think if you have this mindset, if you focus on service, focusing on solving pain, because I do believe that over the next several years, there's going to be more and more tools that are going to be offered out to the homeowner marketplace to help them sell their homes on their own, to do different things. I could even see like people being like, oh, I could just throw my house into this thing where like at any point in time, somebody can make me an offer, a version of that Zillow make me an offer. I could see these things coming. And I know you can see these things coming too. These data points aren't what's going to help you. You leaning into your people, bringing value is what's going to help you in the long run. So I also think you got plenty of years to build an incredible business, to be that go-to agent before any of these things become super mainstream. So yeah, and let's get after that.
Well, and to wrap it on this, I said this earlier when we started this, Matt, is that when you find yourself in these listing presentations and you find yourself in these early conversations, it is not a bad thing to ask. Are you guys thinking about going for sub owner? Is that even a remote option for you? And it's funny, you will not put it into their mind and all of a sudden get them excited where they're like, well, we never thought about that. We should do that. You won't do it. What they're either going to say, yep, we've actually considered it. That's been an option for us. Or no, that's actually not something we don't have the time for it. We don't have the energy for it. I don't have the expertise. I don't know how this all works. And from there, you'll know about conversations that you need to have moving forward. And so, just encourage you, open up those conversations and to ask the questions, because you only know if you ask the questions. Questions are the ways that we build credibility, relationships, connections. Yes.
That's how you learn. That's how you learn. Well, guys, this is fun digging into this little stat. I enjoyed this, Garrett. I appreciate you kind of going around with me on this one. It's a fun one. And as Garrett said at the beginning, guys, it's not too late to get your business plan done. And one thing that we're doing this year, because we're like, how many people actually complete a business plan and do it? Well, we're doing a mastermind for everybody who completes a business plan. And that's totally free. All you have to do is finish a business plan and submit it to us, and you get to join us for quarterly masterminds. We have 3 of them, 3 more left this year to join us at the end of each quarter, and come join us for those to help you stay accountable to the plan that you build. So you don't have to worry about like, okay, you build the plan, we're going to help you with that. We're also going to help you throughout the year by having these masterminds each quarter, which is going to be great. So just go to 10tenths.co/GPS, get all the information there, sign up, do it. Outrageously affordable, by the way, for probably less than what you spend on your CRM. You can do our business planning workshop and be way more focused than what that might help you do. So there it is. And hey, we appreciate you guys. We love you guys. This year's off to a great start. We're so grateful for you guys joining us each and every episode, and we'll see you on the next one.
Sounds good, everybody. See you soon.